The story of the Manson family murders is a haunting tale of manipulation, violence, and cultural upheaval that left an indelible mark on American history. It begins with Charles Manson, a man whose troubled upbringing and criminal tendencies set the stage for one of the most infamous series of murders in the 20th century. Born in 1934, Manson's early life was marked by instability and neglect. His mother, a teenage alcoholic, was in and out of prison, leaving him to spend much of his childhood in the care of relatives and reform schools. These early years instilled in him a deep sense of rejection and a penchant for manipulation that he would later use to devastating effect. After spending most of his early adulthood in and out of prison for crimes ranging from theft to pimping, Manson emerged in the late 1960s into a world ripe for exploitation. The counterculture movement was at its peak, with young people seeking freedom, rebellion, and spiritual enlightenment. Manson, with his charisma and a veneer of wisdom, presented himself as a guru figure, drawing in a group of young, impressionable followers. These individuals, many of them women, became the core of what would later be known as the Manson family. They were disillusioned youth, often estranged from their families, and they found in Manson a father figure, a prophet, and a leader. The group initially coalesced in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district, a hub of the hippie movement. Manson, leveraging his ability to manipulate and charm, convinced his followers that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He used a combination of LSD, psychological manipulation, and promises of spiritual salvation to bind the group together. Over time, Manson's teachings took on a darker tone. He spoke of an impending apocalyptic race war, which he called helter-skelter, a term he borrowed from a Beatles song. According to Manson, the war would end with the African-American population overthrowing white society, only to realize they lacked the ability to govern. The Manson family, hidden in the desert during this chaos, would emerge to take control of the world. In 1968, the family moved to Spahn Ranch, an old movie set in Los Angeles County. The ranch became their home and the site of their free-spirited yet increasingly sinister commune. Manson maintained strict control over his followers, isolating them from the outside world and reinforcing his apocalyptic visions. By now, his ambition had extended beyond spiritual dominance to the world of music. Manson believed he was destined to become a famous musician and sought connections in the Los Angeles music scene. Through a series of chance encounters, he befriended Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, who introduced him to music producer Terry Melcher. However, when Melcher declined to sign Manson, it dealt a severe blow to his ego and fanned his growing anger towards the establishment. By the summer of 1969, Manson's apocalyptic vision and personal vendettas converged into a plan for violence. He believed that the murders he orchestrated would spark the helter-skelter race war and simultaneously exact revenge on those he perceived as enemies. On the night of August 8, 1969, Manson ordered a group of his followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, to go to the home of film director Roman Polanski and his wife, actress Sharon Tate, on Cello Drive in Los Angeles. Manson himself did not participate but gave explicit instructions to kill everyone inside and make it as gruesome as possible. Polanski was away in Europe, but Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, was hosting friends Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Jay Sebring. A young man named Stephen Parent, who had been visiting the property's caretaker, also became an unfortunate victim. The murder spree began with Watson shooting Parent as he tried to leave the property. The group then entered the house, where they subjected the occupants to unimaginable terror. Sharon Tate pleaded for the life of her unborn child, but the killers showed no mercy. She was stabbed 16 times. The others were similarly brutalized, with Frykowski bludgeoned and shot, Folger stabbed 28 times, and Sebring slashed and shot. Before leaving, the killers wrote the word pig on the front door in Tate's blood, a chilling attempt to frame the murders as part of a larger socio-political statement. The following night, Manson, dissatisfied with the chaotic nature of the previous killings, decided to accompany his followers to ensure the murders were carried out according to his vision. This time, they targeted the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, a wealthy couple living in Los Angeles. After tying up the couple, Manson left the scene, instructing his followers to carry out the murders. Watson, Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten stabbed the LaBiancas multiple times, leaving messages like "death to pigs" and "rise" written in blood on the walls. These murders were just as brutal as those of the previous night, cementing the Manson family's reputation for indiscriminate savagery. The murders sent shockwaves through Los Angeles and the nation. Initially, the police failed to connect the Tate and LaBianca killings, attributing them to drug-related violence or personal vendettas. Meanwhile, the Manson family continued their life at Spahn Ranch, seemingly oblivious to the growing media frenzy. It wasn't until the arrest of family members on unrelated charges, including Susan Atkins boasting about the murders to a fellow inmate, that the authorities began to piece together the truth. By the end of 1969, Manson and several of his followers were in custody, charged with the murders. The trial of Charles Manson and his followers began in 1970 and became a media spectacle. Manson's erratic courtroom behavior, including carving an X into his forehead, later turning it into a swastika, and the unwavering loyalty of his followers captivated and horrified the public. During the trial, family members demonstrated outside the courthouse, singing songs written by Manson and displaying unquestioning devotion to their leader. Inside the courtroom, Manson's followers attempted to take the blame for the murders, but the prosecution, led by Vincent Bugliosi, successfully argued that Manson had masterminded the killings. Manson, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten were all convicted of murder. They were initially sentenced to death, but their sentences were commuted to life imprisonment after California abolished the death penalty in 1972. The trial's revelations of Manson's manipulative tactics and the blind obedience of his followers raised unsettling questions about the vulnerability of individuals and the darker currents of the counterculture movement. In the years that followed, Manson remained a figure of morbid fascination. His image, often characterized by his piercing eyes and swastika-marked forehead, became synonymous with evil. From prison, he continued to exert influence over a small number of followers and gave chilling interviews that further cemented his notoriety. His followers, though imprisoned, sometimes expressed regret and sought parole, but their involvement in such heinous acts made them unlikely candidates for release. Susan Atkins died in prison in 2009, and Charles Manson himself passed away in 2017 at the age of 83. The Manson family murders have left a lasting scar on American culture. They marked the end of the 1960s idealistic summer of love and highlighted the dangers of unchecked charisma and blind allegiance. Manson's distorted interpretation of societal upheaval and his ability to exploit vulnerable individuals serve as a grim reminder of humanity's capacity for darkness. The events of that fateful summer continue to be analyzed in books, films, and documentaries, serving both as a cautionary tale and a macabre fascination with one of the darkest chapters in modern history. Thanks for watching. For more videos like this, please subscribe our channel and don't forget to like and share.